thanks to Drexel magazine. Is this up here? I got a little shout out on Drexel magazine this week. I thought I did. That's last year. 2022. See, I can't even find it. 2022. They love this photo of the screaming on the mic photo. So thanks to Drexel. Play to earn. Yeah, that's a disaster. So earn means you're going to get income, which means they're going to send you tax forms. So this is not good. This whole industry is terrible. This whole we're gonna have a security, but then we're gonna pretend that it's a token. Oh, that's illegal, so we'll pretend it's an NFT. We'll pretend it's a game. Oh, that's illegal, so we'll call it a P2E because play to earn didn't sound good. We'll just use the letters. These are just all terrible ideas. Basically, if you see the word staking, that's a disaster. If you see the word yield, return, that's a disaster. If you see basically anything with ERC20 or a fungible token, that's a disaster. If there's something if you see the word invest anywhere, that's a disaster. These are just all disasters. There's no good way to implement play to earn. There's none. The minute you connect the marketplace to a game, you are your security. Because there's people that are going to work. They're going to work to generate these things. And the reason why blockchain is different, gold farming has been around forever. Isn't gold farming just play to earn? Gold farming is illegal too. The difference is gold farming is not implicitly allowed in a game. And there's explicitly disallowed if you read the terms of use for any game. Gold farming and selling it on eBay is illegal, basically in every game. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. And it's obvious because legal wouldn't let that through. So in the indie community that is currently Web3, they'll try anything until they get sued. And then they'll keep doing it, and then they'll just get sued more. But I'll pull up one more just for fun.
So the first tabs are the companies that are going to have legal teams.
Cool.
This big list is more out there.
Gamified decentralized finance. DeFi Land is a multi-chain agricultural simulation game created to gamify decentralized finance. Start playing the game for free, grind their way up to play to earn tier, compete with others, craft, trade, and more. Oh my god. Unique NFTs, play to earn. Achievements, tasks, unions, crafting, fishing, collections. To earn income. I just feel like, if you want to get regulated by one, just like the SEC, that's cool. But if you also want to get regulated for tax fraud and for securities fraud at the same time, this is an efficient way to do that. Let's pick another one.
Hey, William.
Yeah.
It's nice to meet you. I don't know if we've actually spoke verbally. So
yeah, good to catch up.
My name's Casper. Yeah, so my buddy's on this Twitter space as well, and we're starting a compliance standard, and we are looking at non-transferrable NFTs.
Yeah.
I was wondering, what are your thoughts on them? We've looked at ERC 1238 as a standard, and honestly, just want to start a conversation around non-transferable NFTs and see if you've given them much thought. Yeah,
1238 is early draft, it looks like. Absolutely. So there's actually a typo in ERC 721 that we're fixing right now. But we are definitely considering a read-only. This is also called a read-only registry. In other words, not transferable. So you would not have, we're calling this unsafe transfer, that's the old name, transfer from, safe transfer from, approve, set approval for all. These functions don't mean anything if you can't transfer. And so this is, we considered this years ago. These have different names, so we didn't want to use all those like fancy jargon names because in 2017, 2018, we didn't know if those names were going to get popular. So we kind of just came up with these generic words. But the names that people use for what you're describing is called badging or identity tokens or KYC tokens. So that definitely makes sense.
For sure. Yeah, we're using them as KYC badges in our. We were at the East Denver Hackathon with Juan for DeFi, and so now we're looking into it like pretty seriously, and would love your feedback on like this, the way we're thinking of building it out, and yeah, have you seen any other implementations of using these identity badges or KYC badges?
Yes. So I can give you some prior art here. One of them, Zurich Cert. This is a team. This is one of my previous clients. Cert, KYC, KFC, KYC token. They have an implementation somewhere that they did. So what you really want to look to like 2017, 2018, because that's back when, how long are you in this space? So back in the day, like get off my lawn, it was like you would have an ICO, right? And so you would have to like raise funds or for whatever project. And so this is back before people even had Ether. So you would have people like sending you Bitcoin and then you're sending them Ether. Like this is like the Wild West. And so people are like, oh, well, I only have Bitcoin because that's what people had. So they'd send the Bitcoin, and then you send them ETH, and then you would have to like confirm that the Ether address is theirs. And so they would have the KYC process. So they would send you a passport. You have to verify the passport. You have to check against the countries or whatever list. And then you would issue a token on the spot. And so that allows you to distribute your tokens into that wallet. So we were doing this the community was doing this 2018, 2017. I also know this is used as a mint pass. So let me get you some nomenclature here. So take some notes.
Cool.
Let's say NFT tokens for compliance. KYC. So prior art. We have OXCert, Okay, so it's going to be one of those days with the keyboard. Awesome. Just trying to plug it in directly. Awesome. Zurich Cert. We call them mint passes. KYC tokens. I've seen, I don't use this word, but whitelists tokens. And so ERC 721 mentions this use case. So, and that means you don't need another EIP. You don't need to standardize something. It's been standardized for years. We already thought of this. So you don't have to standardize something. You don't have to go through a comment process. You just deliver it. You're good to go. What else? Zurich Start this has one implementation. Again, this is a team that I worked with. They have something. Let's see if I can find a nice doc for you. Here you go. So I'll give you two things that you might want to look at. This is another client I worked with. All this stuff's open sourced, sir.
What's the 1238 folks? What's their reasoning if it's already implementable? 721.
Let's find it. It's work in progress. This came out 5 days before Nifty Hong Kong, and 29 days after ERC 721 was passed. They call it a badge here, which is the word of the time. One to many. Oh, we also call this, proof of. Oh, it's called up here. Could be proof of participation. Yeah, so this is not a standard. This is like a discussion at this point.
Right. So what? I understand that like the mint pass or the whitelist pass was discussed in the 721 standard.
Yeah.
So in terms of the non-transferability piece, like how is that, I guess, implemented in the 721? Because that is transferable, right? Right.
So the ERC 721 is a standard. The standard is a contract, and I'm using the 1700s definition of a contract. It is a negotiation between a producer of information and a consumer of information. So that's the definition of a protocol. And so this contract, it's a shame we're using the word smart contracts too, but this representation is that certain things will have a certain meaning. That's what ERC 721 is. It says that if you call a function called transfer, that the intention of that is to transfer a token, and that the smart contract implementing that should probably, if it's going to do something, it should transfer that token as a result of that function call. Don't read it too much. Don't read that you need to implement that function. Nowhere, it doesn't say that anywhere. It specifically disclaims that you need to implement that feature. So it just says, this is what it means.
So, right. So that makes sense. So you're saying that if we were to, because for us it's almost a security issue, right?
Yep.
We don't want people to be able. So you're saying that we can literally get rid of those lines of literally the transfer from function, the safe transfer function, the approval functions, and just basically diminish the functionality of the 721 and use different. Okay.
Yeah. So one of the questions. So you could do two ways. You could just use 721, thank you, and subtract the parts you don't want. That's good. The benefit you're going to get is it's going to work in MetaMask. It's going to show up on OpenSea or wherever the fine bookstore is sold. That's where you will be compatible. It'll work on Twitter. Like you can set it as your Twitter profile photo or whatever. These things are just going to work out of the box. And you just can't transfer it. You can't stake it. You can't transfer it. You can't encumber it. And at the other end of the spectrum, you could say, well, I don't want all those features. I want to build something from the ground up to just have this minimal feature that I want. And, there's an argument for that as well. But I think your approach is the right approach. Use something that's compatible with everything. You're making it a little bit more lightweight. You're getting a few extra features in here. Like, for example, you could track the total supply of something. You could enumerate these things. So you get a couple good features.
Do you think that there's less risk? Because I'm totally for reusing code. I think it's really important. So do you think that there's more risk to building a new smart contract that's just as lightweight versus just actually my question is are there security risks to just subtracting from your 720?
There's nothing security. You can mess up anything. You can mess up walking if you do it wrong. But there's nothing specifically wrong about subtracting features from ERC 721, and it is expected and documented specifically in the standard. That is a very welcome use case.
Okay, cool.
So there's no red flags or whatever. Yeah.
Subtracting features from the standard is different from taking a smart contract and subtracting from an implementation of ERC 721.
Right. So
that could.
So I pasted all the notes from here. So basically, yes, we call this subclassing. So there's a programming term where you take something that already works and then you kind of like mess with it a little bit. You don't rewrite it, but you use it in a certain way. And so the way you're using it is just, it's taking out some of those features, or it's implementing those features in a way that just, forks them, like it borks them.
Got it. Cool. Yeah, it's super cool. I don't know. Paul, you're on this call, right? Or Twitter Space. Hey, so when you are like subtracting functionality, you're still inheriting it, right? So you can
Yes.
validity contract.
Yes.
So you just like overwrite the function when you declare it.
Yes. So, for example, if you're using Open Zeppelin contracts, I don't believe they allow you to override the function, but they give you something called a hook, where you can bork it that way. That's one way to do it. If you're using a different implementation, for example, the Zurich Cert one is that's the reference implementation. You can override that one. So it's just, there's different ways that you would implement this. Either one is to override, or B is if there's like a callback or a hook.
Great. Yeah, thanks for hosting the space and answering our question.
Yeah, thanks for joining. I love this use case, and these are ideas that we expected to come years ago. And so, the ideas are not exciting. Subtracting functions is not exciting. KYC tokens is not exciting. What's exciting is finding a bank that wants to use these things, or finding, the sales, the client facing, the put on a tie and go to like a finance thing and find those. That's the exciting part, because that's when it actually happens. So I'm glad that you two are working on that and, making this space a reality. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much for answering our questions.
What's up, DT? Non-transferrable fungible tokens. Absolutely. So Karma, yeah. So this would be a publication. So this would be a score, basically. Now, it just happens to be that more people are interested in talking about badging for non-fungible tokens in terms of like proof of participation or proof of this or proof of that. Totally works with fungible tokens. So Reddit Karma, you could publish a number against each account. You could publish a score, positive or negative score. You could be like, we don't think about negative value fungible tokens, but you totally could do it. There's no reason you can't. We could use ERC20 and just have like a baseline number where people get like negative or positive numbers. We could figure that out. Or we could just write a new standard and just literally have negative numbers. So, it doesn't make sense when you have negative numbers and transferable, because it's like, well, I'll just transfer, to myself. One account will be negative, I'll overdraft myself. But if you can't transfer it, then it totally makes sense. Some of the use cases you might want to consider are Reddit Karma. Another one is GPG, trust scores. Let's see if I can get an example. So GPG and PGP so PGP, I guess we're going to say PGP, is pretty good privacy. It is a public key cryptography model for recognizing relationships between different people. And so you might say, we have a relationship, and then you have a relationship with someone else. And then I receive an email from that person, but I've never met that person, but I know that person's legit because I know you're legit and you know they're legit. Something like that. And then how would this whole model work? Well, the way this works is use something called an identity registry. And the most popular one is Keybase. And then Keybase got bought by Facebook, or does anybody know who Keybase got bought by? But the most popular one was Keybase. And what you would do is you would publish all these relationships, which are basically like trust scores, which are basically like non-transferrable fungible tokens. And so you have to be able to pull these things. You have to be able to get these trust scores or whatever, so that you can calculate the bridge between you and some party across the internet. This never got popular. So this is actually built into email, into like a lot of email clients, where you can encrypt something and you send it to your friend. Basically, nobody uses this because people don't care about privacy, but some places they do use this where they do care about privacy. So this is an example. This is a real world example where people are already using this stuff, and it is helpful. It's required. They need this to implement secure email for critical email applications.
That's a cool example. One thing I'm thinking of is like in DAOs right now.
Yeah.
You give people ERC20 tokens, and that gives them voting power, and then somebody could just buy up a bunch of ERC20 tokens. And I'm thinking about long term if DAOs are going to be sustainable and actually meaningful. Maybe there needs to be something like that. I don't know if what are the merits of just using ERC20 and not implementing transfer functions versus creating something different? I don't know if there would be unique functionality required for a standard that is focused on being non-transferrable.
So I'm trying to hypothecate an actual concrete use case here. So, let's say we've got a DAO and we want to vote on stuff and we want to give out tokens, but it's kind of like we're bestowing the token than so much we're giving you this marketable security. It's kind of more like that. So we could imagine that we're going to make and these things are you got to think as the project ages, are there going to be more of these things or is it limited? Something like that. Because if it's limited, these things are just going to get older. Right? If it's a limited supply and you're only giving them out once and they can't transfer them, well, then 10 years from now, it's still going to be that same list. So this would be a list of people that owned these would be OGs, right? So these would be 10
year.
Right. It could be a 10-year thing. Or this could be something it could be an unlimited supply, or it could be a dripped supply. There's a limited per period.
Right.
So
or it burns down over time. So maybe, you were really active in Stack Overflow 10 years ago, but maybe that credit shouldn't apply to 10 years later. Got it.
So you could have a community score. You could either do that as a inflationary system, so you could just give people more points as time goes on, and then they become less valuable. You could do this in a way where you deduct points from everybody at some interval. That gets tough just because blockchain doesn't like running things on intervals. That's not an easy thing to do. I'm trying to think why would we do this? Are these people going to vote on something? Are these people going to have I've seen this use case. We got to really anchor this down into a concrete use case, otherwise it's academic. Some ideas I've heard that people have kind of gone through, but they didn't make the connection. So I'll bring them up. One of them is people are saying, well, everybody's getting hacked. Contracts are getting hacked. Why don't we just get people to audit the contract and then stake their reputation on the contract not getting hacked? I've heard this a few times. And they said, well, whose reputation is going to be staked? The OGs, the people that are qualified to read contracts, smart contracts. And then it's well, are some people more qualified than other? Absolutely. Some people wrote the Solidity language, and some people are well respected, and other people aren't. So then you get a question of well, who's has the authority to set the authority levels for other people? So you get that problem. I haven't heard a good answer to that. And then I've heard a common answer is well, we'll just pick people that contributed to Solidity language, people that have launched projects, or people that have written EIPs. So there's a few projects like that where, I've gotten a few, hey, you wrote an EIP, NFTs. And so those people are okay, well, we'll give you so many points, and then you could trust somebody else to delegate, and then they would review the contracts. This is an interesting idea, but it's too academic because nobody pays for contract audits. People do pay for contract audits. The amount of money available for contract audits is very small compared to the industry. And so to even make a system to dice up this this very small market, nobody's interested in this problem. So I don't think it's going to launch. I'm talking to DAO New York. I don't know what the event's called. The DAO event at NFT NYC, like right after, like a co-event. And so seeing if I'm going to speak there. But that was going to be my topic, was how do you implement multi-depth trust systems using a DAO, using badges, using these scoring mechanisms. And then how to use these scores to allow decision-making. And then the question is, why would you ever want to do that?
Yeah, that's a cool potential example case. I'm thinking of like something even simpler. Like maybe you have a skateboard club at your school, and and there's 100 members of the club, and you want everybody to participate, but you don't want somebody who doesn't contribute at all dominate the discussion or the decision making. The people you want to have more authority is like the kid who invites Tony Hawk to come speak and do a demonstration. So, you give points to people who are doing things to contribute to the community, and then maybe they don't like stake or spend those tokens ever on anything. It just represents their contribution.
Yeah.
And then that has some impact on, the voting on the, some DAO voting platform when they make decisions about the club.
You're right. This is interesting. I'm going to be honest, DAOs are really hard. Voting is really hard in decentralized systems. And I've not really seen anybody do this properly yet. Because somebody's got to set the rules. Somebody's got to set the quadratic voting rules, which is not really quadratic anyway. But there's different functions for how many votes you get, or it's tough. And the reason why it's worked so far is because nothing really substantial has been done with these. Yes, ConstitutionDAO raised a decent amount of money, but that's not really a DAO. That's an index fund, or that's a single-purpose security. Yeah, the ConstitutionDAO is not a DAO. So if it was like historical documents DAO, I would have believed that. But they had one. It was a funding vehicle for a specific asset, and that's the biggest one. Okay, so if it's not ConstitutionDAO, what is it? DAOs are tough. Actually, let me give you one more prior art here. And this is called token curated registries. This NIST article has it. This one, okay. Okay, so there's 3 articles in this. One is this NIST article, which is a meta article. Here's a second one. And then there's a nice article I had to cite. Let's see if I can find it to the bottom. Yeah, Golden's got a nice article on this. So this is the first article on the space, token curated registries. And this is a model for how do you use tokens to vote on things, and how do you use tokens to vote on including people into a community. This is really the basis for a lot of DAOs. And the words are not the same, so you wouldn't know about this, like, unless you're reading this stuff. Like, if I'm not telling the story, you might not understand the connection. But this was a very valuable contribution to the concept of DAOs. I had a response on this, arguing against some of this stuff, but I want to give you these 3 links. Again, I still don't even a lot of the theory on this stuff has been written. People have been working on this stuff. We have implementations of competing ideas of ways to do it. I still haven't seen strong use cases. Skateboard Club, Reddit, yeah, a lot of these communities are so small that they're still at the space where like one person owns the community. So I've yet to see like an actual decentralized autonomous community. But we'll get there. I'm just not, you know, I don't like solving problems that don't exist. So I really got to be motivated. There's an XKCD for that. So it's like, this one.
Example is the Dandelion Collective. We had one of I just met the author of a course on DAOs. And I think we have a question from Otto.
Cool. Co-create gatherings, not for profit, worker cooperative. Tickets. I like selling tickets. I actually like that. I like when you're selling something. What I don't like is like these clubs where it's like one person's in charge and then like they give all these tokens to their friends, but like I like when there's actually fees. Like somebody's losing money. That's how I know it's valuable. So these are different artistic initiatives, and then people are creating communities around them.
Yeah.
Cool.
And, I think people pay for the events, and I think the whole thing is open source on that GitHub page. The event topics tend to be kind of out there, but I think it's a really interesting idea.
Cool. I'm gonna keep this. Cool. Otto, what's good?
Hey, William, I haven't seen you in a while. I don't know if you remember me from Ernst & Young EY. I remember you did some work there, and cool to see you around there.
Yeah.
Thanks for hosting this space. This is great. I want to ask, what is your thoughts around sort of the usage of the 721s for identity? Like I see some folks using that for identity, purposes, and then sort of the interplay between that and like the decentralized identity / verifiable credentials standard that's kind of been emerging out there over the last 3 years. And where should it go? What makes sense in your mind? What makes sense, between using those two? Are they competing? Should they reconciliate one another? Just in general, yeah.
Yeah, so these are related. So in terms of choosing an implementation, use DID, W3C, that's also based on EIP 712. This is I think it's a recommendation. DID. Proposed recommendation, yes. So this is proposed. You can consider this as usable. This standard. W3C is, they're pretty big, and so this one does. This is compatible with Ethereum. We've got method. We've got, this is one of those big, round, supports a lot of stuff. Uses JSON, uses schemas, it's good stuff. So it's compatible with, a lot of these different systems. Just like IPFS. IPFS is one of those big round, it actually supports a lot of different things. It currently only works with a few things, but they're big picture people. ERC 721, big picture people. This is one of those things. So you can use this to specify an identity. And we're going to be talking about like a public key or something like that. There's other different kinds of identities. So you can have delegated identity. So something like, let's say direct. Direct identity would be like DID W3C. All right, W3C DID. Microsoft is involved in this. I don't know if their name's on this, but they're part of this. Let me give you another one. It's called Smart Health Cards. What is this called? Yeah, Smart Health Cards. So this is a delegated identity. So, and another application link. Otto, I can't really see your picture. Did we work together at EY?
I think we just interacted in a few meetings. We didn't really work in a project per se, but I remember seeing you around. I think this was a year and a half ago or so, maybe.
Yeah, at the conference, at the Global Summit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for checking in. So let me give you 3 implementations. One of them is you are on which team? Can you say which team you're on?
Yeah, I'm on the tax team, working between tax and blockchain with various projects.
Got it. So you're on assurance.
No, I'm actually working with global tax function.
Global tax.
Assurance is more like the audit of crypto assets and things like that.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay, so as a member of EY, you get access to Ethereum Enterprise Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, and they have a GitHub. Are you on GitHub?
Yep.
Cool. So you get. Sorry, was that a nope or yup?
Oh yeah, that's a yup.
Yeah. Cool. So we get access to this. I'm still on there. You can just I don't know who you call, but if you contact me offline, I'll tell you who to call, and you can get into their GitHub. So it's Enterprise Enterprise Ethereum Alliance GitHub, and so they'll just add you into this. You have an EY address, they'll put you in here. So you're in here, and you get access to all the private repos and whatever. They also have an initiative related to identity, or it's DID. I don't know what it's called. Token something. This is part of it, this token taxonomy framework. This is one of them.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to click on them because they're private, but here's another one. So that's one thing, is you can just get in there. That's one initiative. I actually don't really like Enterprise Ethereum Alliance. They're kind of like, let's get 1 million people and let's list their names on our website type of a industry alliance.
Right.
So just to explain how slow they are, they tried to catalog every type of token, and they know about more kinds of NFTs than I do. Let's put it that way. They've cataloged extensively. They've never implemented any of them, but they just have a list, and they have Word files checked into GitHub documenting each use case that they've seen.
Wow.
That's laughable. It's like, there's no way that they're going to ever produce anything with that. So that's kind of how they move. Some people, as an academic study thing, that's cool. W3C, I support that. They're moving forward. Smart Health Card, I wanted to bring this up because I don't know if they have a good picture here, but I'll be able to talk you through this real fast. The way this works is there's a QR code, and it's obviously got a lot of detail here. So shoved into this QR code is a chain of custody. Are you familiar with how HTTPS works?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So you've got a certificate of authority, you've got a delegate authority, you've got a signer, and then you've got the website. And so you can click on, here, privacy. Wow, they don't even. Let's open up a real browser here. We got Edge here. Can I get Edge? Okay, use a real browser. Click on this thing, and it tells you that. Yeah. It shows you the authority chain. So from the root that's trusted by your browser, and it explains how it's trusted using your system. Your system trusts it, and then there's an intermediary, and then there's the website. So there's a chain of trust here. So when you establish a website connection with this website, it's got to prove to your browser that this website's secure. And so it's going to bring some There's two ways to do that. One, with something like DID, it's kind of like there's one registry of everything that you trust. And that's it. That's also how Keybase works. That's also how some of these other systems work. This system, the thing that is sent to your browser includes A, the self-signed certificate for this whatever website, B, an attachment of an authorization on that certificate from some authority, and then an authorization on that authority from an authority that you trust. So there's a chain here. It's exactly the same way as the smart health card works. So you get this big QR code, and shoved in here, there's some type of a root authority, which would be a national or state government that you trust, and then a subdelegate, and then whatever data that they want to show you. This is used for vaccine certificates. So the smart health cards, this is good. California is using it. Maybe New York is using it. There's some different states that are using it. It's a decent idea. It's got a couple usability non-starters. I worked on a competitor to this that predates this implementation. This is with my client, Genobank. And so the way it works is you just scan these QR codes, and it's a website that validates this stuff. Same thing. So there's a delegation. It's not directly trusting the authority. You have to verify with an intermediary. So they're just two different ways to do this stuff. DID does not support that. When would you use one or the other? Well, the reason why that smart health cards make sense is because the main people are really caring. COVID cards, you go to a bar, they look at it, or they don't, whatever, right? But where the people do care about this stuff is travel. That's where they're actually checking stuff. Like, are you a risk to letting you come in our country? And so for travel, the problem is these certificates are coming from everywhere. They're coming from different states, different countries, different, from the US, us got this little piece of cardboard that we could print at home and fake, anybody can make it. So there's all these different systems. And so they wanted something that was going to be able to work with delegation, with one system that's not controlled by anybody. So it's actually decentralized. It's delegated. And, you set your own policy if you're going to accept a certificate or you're not going to accept it. But either way, it works. Something like W3 DID, there's kind of got to be like one global authority, or it's got to be on Ethereum, or you have to have a list of everybody you trust. Just two ways to look at it. So this works for identity. This works for health applications. Just happens to be, a great time for health applications that we need to validate health documents, obviously because of COVID. KYC blockchain, these things are not as mission critical because a lot of blockchain projects, they just skip over KYC or they do the minimum required. But for health, they don't do the minimum required. They do, they care about that.
Would you see, for instance, somebody giving you a vaccination card of some kind, that being put on a verifiable credential, and just for argument's sake, say somebody embedding that into a 721 NFT?
That's exactly what we did here. That's what we did. Yep.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Yeah. And obviously, it's got to be private, so it's encrypted with a symmetric key that the stuff that's on the blockchain, represents the health information, but it's entirely useless unless you have this symmetric key.
That makes total sense. Exactly. Yeah.
So when the secret is that the way that the implementation secret here is that this QR code has a bunch of data in it, and the data validates on the blockchain. But this QR code also includes the symmetric key. So you are able on your device to read it, and it exists nowhere else on Earth. So the laboratory creates this. The laboratory, if they delete it, there's no other government record, there's no government database, period, for this stuff. But it exists only on this piece of paper. So if you throw away this QR code and the laboratory throws it away, there's no copy of these records anywhere.
Right, exactly. That makes sense. Exactly. The credential stays off chain, but there's some reference to what is on chain for validation's sake.
Right, and so for validation, the big issue is the timestamping has to be done on chain, and it has to be, tamper evident or tamper proof or whatever. You have to know that the stuff that was authorized is the stuff that you're reading and validating. And that works out.
Nice. No, great to pick your brain on that. Awesome.
Thanks for bringing it up. I saw your note, so I'll get back to you in a sec, and I'll paste these notes here.